Jake Paul versus the NBA.
Welcome to the show.
Jake Paul billed as a Vine star turned YouTube personality / actor / rapper / professional boxer. Professional is a big word for what Jake Paul has done in a ring, don't you think? Whatever your opinion, he certainly doesn't care. JP is no stranger to controversy, and whether you like it or not, he managed to carve out a still ongoing career as a boxer. Despite the semi-nude pic with his girlfriend he posted, scamming his followers for $7 a pop with a course that failed to deliver on its promises. Party complaints, public nuanced lawsuits, publicly claiming COVID-19 is a hoax, attending a riot at a mall that led to an FBI raid of his home, along with the most recent scandal involving sexual assault allegations by TikTok personality Justine Paradise. Somehow Jake Paul has managed to toe the line and remain on top and in the public eye. But today, we're going to ensure that old Jakey boy gets knocked the out as we venture to find out which NBA players can beat up Jake Paul. If your answer is, all of them, then maybe you didn't see his last fight against UFC superstar Ben Askren. For a dude whose actual job in life is to get socked in the face to the point of severe cauliflower ear, Ben Askren certainly got his kicked. I don't think anyone saw that coming, Jake Paul included. So we aren't here to underestimate the guy. We're here in an exploratory discussion because we know JP will fight former NBA players, as evidenced by his former fight with none other than fan favorite, former NBA dunk champion, Nate Robinson. Poor Nate, who was used to being battered around by guys bigger than he is, 5'9" in case anyone forgot. Really got pulverized by Jake in the ring via a second-round knockout that can only be described by saying, that man went to sleep. Yeah. If you're thinking we're taking a jab at Nate, no pun intended. We assure you, we're on the side of NBA fans here. Like most, we were heartbroken to see Nate even get in that ring and have had an eye toward revenge against Jake ever since. So the list of NBA players we believe could actually knock out JP, sending him back in time to the 20th century, where boxers were boxers, hoopers were hoopers, and YouTubers were just lonely weirdos sitting in their rooms talking to their computers because they didn't have a lot of friends. Burn, Jake, burn. Another thing we believe with this incredibly researched, highly scrutinized, peer-reviewed academic study is that we're bound to see another fight between Mr. Paul and another former NBA player at some point in the future. Point in case, recently ex-NBA player and actual pro boxer Kendall Gill called out Mr. Paul and politely asked him to step up and fight some real competition. Uh-oh, Jakey. Did you open up Pandora's box by fighting Nate? Because if you did, and you're willing to take on a few more hoopers, we may have some suggestions for you. NBA players have taken to all kinds of unique and sometimes super weird forms of exercise to stay in shape during the offseason, to get back in shape after an injury, or to ensure they have as long of a healthy career as possible. Some of these activities include yoga, meditation, Pilates, spin class, rock climbing, rapping, pickleball, willing out at the club, and pole dancing. Okay, not pole dancing. But hanging out at strip clubs definitely seems like a normal pastime activity for NBA players these days. One other activity we neglected to mention is that many players have taken to boxing as part of their training regimens. So there are more than a few options for JP if he's really in the business of lacing up and getting in the ring with the world's best basketball players. Spoiler. Real bruisers like Kevin Garnett, Caron Butler, Jimmy Butler, Marcus Smart, Joakim Noah, Serge Ibaka, Meta World Peace, Draymond Green, JaMychal Green, Gerald Green, Jeff Green, Javonte Green, and Tom Green. Whoa, wait. One of these things is not like the others. Anyway, all those real-life tough guys are exempt. They don't need boxing lessons to open a can of Stone Cold Steve Austin whoop on Jake the Snake Paul. Any of those guys would chew through him like Tyson chewed through Holyfield. Ugh. Note, you could potentially show footage of actual fights in NBA games and say these players are exempt. Without further ado, here is our list of opponents and how we believe they would fare in the ring. Let's find out who can avenge Nate Robinson and what each match could actually look like. Mind you, this list is in no particular order because the truth is, any of these NBA players could crush JP and instantly end his sorry excuse of a boxing career. Ready? Ding, ding, ding. First up, John Wall, also known as Optimus Dime. Credit SB Nation for that hilarious nickname, which was originally coined for former Wizards teammate Marcin Gortat, but transferred over to Wall because, let's face it, Gortat was never known for his passing, and he already had a great nickname, the Polish Hammer. Wall, who's now a Rocket, has admirably worked his way back from oftentimes considered career-ending injuries. So we know the dude is tough, that he can train as hard as any pro boxer, and that he always gets back up after getting knocked down. The fighter spirit is strong with this Jedi. John Wall is predominantly known for his court vision, IQ, and quickness getting to the hoop through the lane, and translating those skills to the ones a boxer needs in a fight. It's safe to assume that Optimus Dime would come prepared with a soul-crushing game plan for a bout with Jake Paul, one that's adaptable too, just as John's offense has been throughout his career. Take away the three-point shot? No problem. John's driving in the paint. Take away the paint. Whatever. John's dishing out no-look dimes in his sleep. Take away the passing lanes and Wall will make a circus shot without hesitation and with his eyes closed. So it's safe to assume John's ability to adapt on the fly would translate easily to a ring, which any boxing fan can tell you is one of the most useful skills for a boxing match. Coming in with a strong game plan, immediately learning your opponent's strategy, and adapting your plan accordingly can sometimes be the deciding factor in a fight. Couple the adaptability and IQ John Wall has with how quick the man is able to move his feet, and you've got a mix of smarts and speed that John Wall would ensure Jake Paul crumbles. How do you defend against a barrage of lightning-fast punches and speed demon footwork, as well as a surgical approach to attacking an opponent's defense? You don't, really. You end up on your toes, getting pummeled. And that's exactly how John Wall would dismantle Jake Paul, round by round, punch by punch. With nimble speed, unique punching angles, a la Manny Pacquiao, and an adaptability that would counter even the strongest of Jake Paul's offensive attacks. Nighty-night, Jake. Optimus Dime wore you down and caught you with a sneaky uppercut, knowing you'd walk right into it. Next, we have another point guard, whose boxing name shall remain exactly as is his rapping name, Damian Dollar Lillard. A perennial MVP this current season, the loyal Trailblazer has been consistently winning games for Portland for the better part of a decade. His skill set outside of being a really dope rapper is his shooting range, ball handles, and gigantic Glengarry Glen Ross style big brass balls. If Dame Dolla's punches are anything like this three-point shot, that means he's got unbelievable range, superhuman strength, and a willingness to go for it and reach for a knockout any chance he is given. If Mike Tyson was an NBA player, he'd be most like Damian Lillard. And so it's only appropriate to say the converse is true with this mental exercise. If Dame squared up with Jake in the ring, his handles would guarantee a consistent barrage of 1-2 punches with a steady rhythm as Dame looks for that big shot to put Jake flat on the mat. Dame's defense could be suspect, as is apparent on the court throughout most regular seasons. But if Lillard has shown anything throughout his basketball career, it's that when the big moments come, he's not only ready, he's in his element. A lot of boxers talk about the mental game, and Dame's mental toughness might be his most useful asset as an athlete and competitor. Regardless of punch characteristics in a bout between these two, the upper hand truly belongs to Dame, simply because his mentality will win out in nearly any and all competitive circumstances. Go to sleep, Jake. Dame Dollar had you beat in the mental game before the match even started. He only had to wait for the one small opportunity to land that big overhand right to have you seeing bluebirds, stars, unicorns, and rainbows. Kyle Kuzma, or as the king calls him, Crisscross. Kuz has been boxing for some time, and he definitely has the bone structure for it. Kyle is now an NBA champion out of sheer wit, determination, hard work, and an unyielding perseverance. Drafted number 27 in 2017 by the Lakers, Kuzma was far from a sure thing. Somehow, he managed to play through enough defense and becoming such a consistent scoring threat that he grew in value more so than some of his top 5 drafted teammates, like D'Lo Russell, Lonzo Ball, and B.I. apparently, in the Anthony Davis sweepstakes during the first go-around of trade negotiations. Kuzma was a sticking point that prevented a deal from taking place between the Pelicans and Lakers. They held steadfast, and that approach paid off, as the Pelicans settled for Josh Hart instead, and then crisscrossed a year later, became an invaluable piece to the 2019-2020 championship Lakers squad. Kyle is streaky in his career. His outside shot comes and goes. His toughness sometimes wavers. But his defensive effort, offensive attack mode, and willingness to do whatever the team asks for is always present. One thing stands out against all else that would surely benefit him in a boxing ring. He rises to the occasion. A lot of players have fallen flat when playing with King James, but Kuz doesn't seem to get phased in the spotlight. He actually seems to thrive. There's always a lot of talk about a boxer's spirit and how that plays into a match just as much as your physical abilities do. If Kyle has displayed anything in his basketball career, it's the strength in his character, which means that even if Jake put up a good fight against him, we could guarantee Jake goes down for the count, simply based on Kyle's persistence with his warrior spirit. The same one that carved out a role with the purple and gold is the same one that would have Jake yelling, "Crisscross will make ya jump, jump! Daddy Mac will make ya jump, jump!" out of the ring. 80s rap fans are happy with that one. The rest of you need to get with it. Peace out, JP. There's no overcoming Kyle's inner champion. Train as hard as you want. Put up as good a defense as you can. Kyle's gonna keep taking his shots, and when the final bell sounds, it will go to the scorecards, and Kyle will always be victorious. Enough of the guards. Let's bring in some big men, shall we? Next up is none other than the unicorn himself, Latvian superstar Kristaps Porzingis. He's always been confused by his nickname, but that's because they don't have unicorns in Latvia, only the most intimidating black stallions. Kristaps has battled injuries for years now and has struggled to live up to the hype of being a franchise cornerstone. He forced his way out of New York and got lucky to play with future MVP Luka Doncic, but it's been a year that feels as though Kristaps is still just untapped potential. At his best, he's a Nowitzki-type all-around 7-footer who can defend well and score on literally anybody. It's possible Jake Paul only comes up to his belly button if you stood them side by side, because there's hardly anyone bigger than the unicorn, standing at 7 foot 3 inches tall. And there's certainly no one nearly as tough as this guy is. Porzingis is really known for his speed. Just look at his teammate Boban Marjanovic, who would be sure to crush Jake Paul in a ring, as is evidenced with his fight against Keanu in John Wick. But that's besides the point. Bobby is a bit taller, but a great example of how difficult it is for big men over 7 feet to move as quick as the guards and smaller opponents who have X-Men-like agility. Porzingis has always thrived in these matchups. He can score over your tallest player with ease, and he can guard against smaller, faster opponents, which is why it's easy to see that if Jake Paul's advantage would be his smaller size and speed, it would fail miserably against the unicorn's strength, stamina, and overall hustle. Porzingis is used to putting his opponents on skates.
They said it with Porzingis. I would have said it with Kleba.
And just like his entrance into the NBA, which took NBA fans completely off guard, he'd come in the ring with unexpected tricks up his sleeve and have JP reeling, just as New York was only halfway through his first season. From booing crowds at the draft to insanity levels of excitement, Jake Paul would start off a fight with Kristaps thinking he was the clear-cut winner. And before you knew it, the unicorn would show out, defend every punch he had, and he would counter-punch his way to victory with a unique, rarely seen style of magical creature footwork. Get out of here, Jake Paul! Kristaps wins by unanimous decision in the scorecards. The simple eye test would say it all at the end of the match. Jake would look like a bruised-up tomato, and Kristaps would look like he's just lounging at the beach in Bermuda or Latvia. Do they have beaches in Latvia? Who knows? And last but not least is the most likely 2020-2021 second place MVP, the hilarious and insanely talented Philadelphia 76er, Joel The Process Embiid, which, if you didn't know, is a self-proclaimed nickname. Joel understood from the get-go of his NBA career that he was coming on to a horrible 76er squad, desperately looking for a savior, that they had been purposely losing for years in order to find a championship-caliber player in the draft. And despite his bad knee and foot injuries, they knew that he could be that player. Well, Joel knows it too. And after a couple of strong years of growth and hilarious social media posts, Joel has earned MVP runner-up honors this year as his squad has battled for the #1 seed all season. There's only one way you get to be the top 3 in MVP voting in basketball. You have to be good at literally everything, and that's so true about the process. Joel's overall game is astounding. There's nothing he can't do. And to back all of his physical skills, he has a personality and attitude that oftentimes crushes opponents before they even take the court. If there's one matchup Jake Paul would probably avoid at all costs, it's this one. If Steven Adams, Bam Adebayo, DeAndre Jordan, Miles Turner, Tristan Thompson, Andrew Drummond, and just about every other NBA center has a hard time defending and scoring on Embiid, then it's the world's safest bet to say that Jake Paul would be peeing in his boxing trousers as he looked across a ring to see a smiling Joel. Joel Embiid has some of the best footwork in the NBA, and his offensive precision from all over the court is second to none. Well, maybe only Nikola Jokic this season, or Steph Curry. But hey, that's already an accomplishment in its own right. It's easy to see how footwork, menacing defense, and soul-destroying, incredibly precise offense would make Joel Embiid a winner against almost any opponent you pit him against. The process is going to crush you, and he's going to laugh at you the entire time he's doing it. It's hopeless, Jake. The process will eat you for breakfast. Jake Paul KO'd in less than 5 seconds. One jab, one snicker, and one uppercut to put Jake so far up in the air, he might take a full NBA season before he comes crash landing back down to the mat. Well, that's it, folks. The moral of the story here is, don't pick the smallest guy on the court to beat up in a ring. If you want to fight an NBA player, there are plenty to choose from. Fingers crossed that when any of these superstars retire, that they find themselves in a ring with Jake Paul, and we can all revel in seeing him take a nap on the mat. As much or nearly as much as we know Nate the Great Robinson would. Shout out to Nate. You keep proving haters wrong. Just next time you get in the ring, maybe it's with Kevin Hart or JJ Barrera or Isaiah Thomas. As they say in the NBA, know your role. We know yours. Champion with the heart of a lion all day, every day. Peace out, Jake Paul. Maybe you should take up air hockey.